Hey everybody, it's Stalker13R coming at you with another episode. Today we're going to look at the beta mode for this new Commander mode on World of Tanks. It's a real-time strategy game. I've played 3 games, and I did the first one I recorded the replay, and then I did a live recording of my next 2 games. So these are my first 3 actual games. And in this first one, you'll see it's pretty clumsy. I'm trying to figure it out. On the second 2 games, there's you can pause the screen when the controller map comes up, and you'll be able to see what all the commands are. There's not too many of them, so here we go. We're going to find our guys over here, and we've got, a variety of tanks. They're popular. Looks to be, mostly tier 8, maybe some tier 7s. I'm not really sure what that Scorpion G is. So there we got the IS-3 moving out. We're going to send that light tank, but this is my very first game, and I'm just trying to figure out what the buttons are, because that controller map just flashed for a second, and I didn't quite catch all of the buttons, and there's not that many. The controls were pretty easy. The first game's always going to be a little clumsy, but there's not that many buttons, and you'll be able to figure it out pretty quick. So here I just decided, it's first game, I'm going to see what the AI does, and I'm just going to select all my units en masse with that right bumper, and click on the objective. Because as Stalker13R always says, in a game of encounter, always be within 30 to 45 seconds of that cap, just in case the enemy tries to cap out and take a win where he would normally be taking a loss. So you can see my opponent there is sending tanks in more 2 at a time, and I think that's what allowed me to get up on this first game. But grouping your tanks up has a disadvantage too, and I'll show you that. For those of you that are more familiar with real-time strategy games, a lot of these things will be much more intuitive. The only strategy games I play are turn-based, and so I'm in the minority when it comes to strategy games, because that's really what I prefer. In this encounter mode, I will say that, because you can focus on that one cap and not have to worry about multiple flanks, it made it a lot easier. I think the time that it would take you to move from one side of the map to the other side of the map and try to keep track of what was going on might be a little bit of a strain. So we'll have to see where they go with maps. But for right now, all 3 games have been encounter on this same map. Now you can see I moved my units up en masse, and I'm trying to figure out if this IS-3 has actually got a field of fire here, because I thought he did, but looking at this replay, he might be just down in a little hole, and that's why he's not shooting. So there are undulations and small hills and rises and dips in the terrain and small walls and bushes. It is difficult to tell whether or not you have line of fire to where you're actually wanting your tanks to go. So that's why I'm taking a look. I saw that light tank shoot, so I said, okay, he does have a line of fire. That IS-3, I haven't seen him shoot. And now here up on the cap, you can see I moved the units up en masse. And I don't think the units in the back are getting good lanes of fire, so if you do move them up en masse, in the third game I kind of figure that out, and I move them up just short into kind of an assembly area just outside where I want them to be, and then move them individually into position once they're there. So for all you RTS players, that's probably pretty intuitive, but if you're trying one of these for the first time, or trying this particular one for the first time, it's something to keep in mind, because it does keep them bunched up real tight, as you can see. Another thing that I was watching is, who is it going to decide is the priority target? And are they all going to volley fire on one? Are they going to divide their fire amongst multiple targets? Is it always going to be the guy on low health? So those were the kinds of things that I was watching for. And like I say, if you have tanks that are bunched up like that, it's not good. Not all of them can shoot, so I'm going to start spreading them out and moving them just around inside the circle so that they'll have better lanes of fire. So that was my fumble through the first game here, and we're going to wrap it up here in just a second. My opponent, I sent him a good game after the game, and he had said that it was his first game as well, so he was struggling with the same kinds of challenges. It was on that Friday when this game mode just came out. So here we are, we're just about to put this one, get another shot on this Scorpion G, and we'll have a victory for our first game. Now, like I say, I think the biggest challenge was in determining whether the tanks that I put into a position actually had the line of fire that I thought they had. And you can adjust your view angle. You can get almost down behind your tank, but not quite that commander's view. So if any of you played Micro Armor back in the day before we had all this electronic tank goodness, and you were playing on sand tables with 1/285th scale lead or lead pewter mix tanks, and got down there with your string or your little periscopes, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So that was the one challenge that I would say was a big deal, and you'll see I'm still struggling with it in the second game a little bit, and then in the third game I get it figured out. So here we go, game 2. I had a little trouble finding this game mode because I had got the email like everyone else, I assume, and it's all the way to the left in your garage, so it would normally be that first tank slot in your garage, and that's where the mode was. I kept looking for it under like multiplayer or the tournament page, the page that it is before you actually get into your garage, and it wasn't there, so I actually missed out on the mode for a few hours, and that's why I'm getting this video out a day late. But I got some other good games in, and I got some good footage in the can yesterday, so like I say, if you are new to my channel and you just stumbled across it because of the new mode, go ahead and go to my homepage. Check out some of my videos, like So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, or Single Flank Strategy, or French Tank if you're into light tanking around and want to see somebody that's not really a super driver drive one and get some things done. We usually don't highlight, the massive games, but we highlight a team play on a game. Where was a game that we were able to do something that enabled the team to accomplish their goal and get that win on the board, rather than the individual, hey, look at me and look at how cool I am, I can drive a tank or I can shoot a tank. So I still do pretty good overall, but it's definitely not showcasing just individual talent. It is focusing on how can you look at what your team is doing as a strategy and make that more effective. Because you're on a team with 14 other people. It's not that 14 people are on your team. They're not going to listen to you, so you might as well get their guns in the game in a more effective way. So here I thought I'd just move my Scorpions up. That having an Overwatch out there I think would help quite a bit, and I'll get my light tank scooting across, and we'll see how it goes. And now I'm going to select my units en masse, and I thought it would just be what was on the screen at the time. So I hit my right bumper there, and I hit select everybody, and let's go up there. Well, it actually selects everybody. You can see my light tank and my Scorpions also heading for that same rally point. So that was kind of a misunderstanding of, select all is indeed select all, not just what's in a given circle or on your screen at the time that you hit it. It will indeed take all of your units on the map and send them to the same place. So I'm going to have to do a little work and get them sorted out. Get him over here. So now you can see that Scorpion there. It has just a little rise just in front of him, but it's hard to see. And that was preventing that vehicle from getting any kind of line of sight at all. So you can move your camera angle to get behind the tank. You can drop, you can rotate it around to get behind your vehicle, and you can adjust your elevation or your height so that you're closer to looking down behind it. But some of these low hills and undulations are kind of hard to predict. So in this second game, I get my guys up there, and I decide to try to make that dash across the bridge. And as I'm moving my units one by one, my Scorpions are definitely not in good firing position, and I end up getting chewed up coming across this bridge. So the enemy put a Liberté up there on the hill because I'm actually behind a hill that I couldn't really see that was a hill. So I've actually got my scorpions down in a hole where they can't shoot, and I moved my my base capping force onto the base without any scorpion cover, which was a big mistake. So you really got to watch, at what point can you actually engage. You can see that IS-3 just put one in the dirt, trying to shoot at the scorpion. So, even right here I don't have depression, and that vehicle's not shooting. I've got an IS-3 moving on him, and he's not doing anything about it. So I'm going to go ahead and back him off and let them come over the hill at me. That seems to be working a lot better, so I'm picking it up here. Score's tied back up at 3-3. And look at that, I've actually taken the lead. I've still got one scorpion back here that, because of that little rise that's right there, they're not actually getting anything done. So I'm going to see if I can't bring him up to the forefront and get things going. I don't know where the rest of his team is at this point, and I suddenly realized that all those guys that I sent over to get on the cap got shot on the bridge, and no one's actually on the cap. So I moved a couple of X button go here signs for some tanks, and I thought they would also go across the bridge, but they turned around and went all the way back. So for some reason, instead of going across that bridge like those other tanks when they were getting shot at did, that tank decided to turn around and go all the way back and push across a ford in the river. So, that was interesting. Guess they make some decisions, so as the commander, you got to make sure that people are really doing what you thought they were going to do. And now his flanking element that was up coming down the backside of the map has shown up, and I'm in big trouble, because I lost a lot of my force going across that river, and now this IS-3's kind of pinched in between the arriving force and the guys that were already there. And I've got my force split on both sides of the river. So things aren't looking good for Stalker. And you can see the enemy's taking the lead on kills again. So I'm going to try to get my light tank in here, but even though it's encounter mode, it's going to take us way too much time to actually cap this base out. My heavy tank was lost there because he was pinched between the two forces. And, it's not looking good for Stalker. Another thing when you're moving your vehicles about the AI is when there's destructible terrain, like houses that are destructible, and you select a tank and then have it drive behind that house. If it's en route, it'll drive right over the house, and then the cover that you were hoping to have, like that light tank just did, the cover you were hoping to have once you got there isn't there, because they'll drive right over it instead of driving it around. And if there was a recommendation for a bug fix, that would be one thing that I would fix in the AI is, don't drive over destructible terrain like houses and things like that. I don't know if you'd have to just completely get rid of the destructible houses, because then you still have things like fences or trees or bushes that you do want to be destructible and drive right over. But whenever I'm trying to get behind a house and use it for cover, I seem to drive over it and destroy the cover I'm trying to gain. So that's something to keep an eye out, and you might have to do interim waypoints to move a vehicle from point A to point B and not have that happen. And again, for all you real-time strategy game players, that's probably a lot more intuitive. Like I say, I was a turn-based strategy game player, and that puts us in the minority. There's not a lot of games like that out anymore, so we have real-time, and I think that in this encounter mode, if we had other modes, like a 2-base capture the flag, or just a sheer team destruction, I think the amount of legwork that you'd have to do moving around the map and keeping track of whether or not vehicles have line of sight, whether or not they're actually going to where you thought they were in a rapid way. But having the small undulations and just those minor elevation changes that are difficult to see from from this view or even other views where you get down behind your tank, it's hard to tell where you actually have lane of fire and where you don't, and flattening out the map would be another thing. You know, it looks great and it keeps that look and it keeps the feel more true to the other mode that we play in a standard tank where you are in a tank with that commander view, but I don't think it adds to this real-time strategy mode. So you'll see there on game 2 we took a defeat. You know, we miscalculated how they were going to move across that bridge in that fire. Our Scorpions weren't in position, and you know, we took a well-deserved loss. Those were our mistakes, and a shout out to my opponent there, another great player. Got a message back from him after the game as well on the good game. So, you know, everybody's getting in and checking it out. So we're going to move on to game 3 here, and we'll see if we can pull it back together and at least get 2 out of 3. So here we are in the garage once again, all the way to the left. It's just like it's another tank. It's not a separate mode, so don't hit B and go back out to game modes to get into the commander game mode. Get into your garage under multiplayer and just select commander as if it were one of your tanks. And now we're going to give this one final go here and see if we can put everything we've learned together and come out better than 50-50 for our first experience into this game mode. So, looks like I got a lot of black screen. That's good editing, huh? It'll fire up right here in a second. Like I say, I went ahead and recorded these next games live, you know, just so that you could see what it actually does. And you can pause the menu here and see there's not that many controls or inputs associated with the game mode. And I'm gonna go ahead and spawn on this side of the map again, once again in counter game. Now, in the game before, I started heading en masse over to the other side of the river, and I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with that strategy on this game. And I'm just going to move everybody and see how it works to move my entire unit en masse, and then I can come back here, and for the onesie-twosies that I want to go somewhere else, I can go ahead, and I saw that when I was on the back side of that little hill, I couldn't shoot anybody, so we'll get to the front side. It's a little bit of the learning process at work. I'm going to figure out which one of these, because one guy's driving into the other guy, so then I've got to actually get up on top of and in front of that little hill, because that's actually a little hill. We'll go ahead and get our spotter deeper into town, just around the corner, and see if we can see him coming. And now as these units start arriving in that rally point, we'll get somebody to cover just across the bridge, and now that we've got this assembly area that's close by, we can start one by one moving them into a position so that, unlike the first game where I had all of my tanks in a clump and the tanks in the back row couldn't shoot, we're going to spread them out into a picket line across this base and see if I can't get some better fire lines and get my damage per minute up a lot higher. One thing about, you know, trying to use the cover, a lot of it's destructible, and my recommendation is, you know, you're not in that same mode like when you're playing normal World of Tanks. Go ahead and just stick them more out in the open, just so that you can get that guaranteed line of fire rather than trying to give them the most ideal tank position where they're hulled down or something like that. You're just going to end up getting them somewhere that they can't shoot at all. So, in my limited 3-game experience, just get them out where you can guaranteed get your shots and get those barrels heated up, because the quicker you get that damage going is the faster that this game's going to go. So, we start off the game and Stalker's a tank down, because he stuck it way out in the open where it could shoot, like he just told you to do. But, you know, there's a lot of game left to play, so we'll see how this takes off. Now you can see this Liberté coming across, and he's going right into a whole line of medium and heavy tanks, and he's got his turret turned 90 degrees so that he can shoot at a light tank that's behind a building. So that's part of that AI, so watch out when those units are moving forward. Whatever they start shooting at, they're going to keep shooting at it. And if they continue to move forward, he'll charge right into a line, just like that tank did right there. So it's not does the AI work properly or not properly. It's just a matter of knowing what the AI is going to do in a given situation and making sure that you create the situation that you want to have more than the situation that you would like it to be. And there we go. We've got 4 kills to 1, so that you can see that picket line did indeed end up working out. We massed our firepower, and we got things going. Undoubtedly this player, like the other player, sent half of his force behind that hill, but I don't know if we're going to find out. So I'm going to get some a picket line of scouts out in front. I'm going to move a few tanks into position to make a screen between the base and any guys that might be coming down out of that back mountain. And we'll see how it goes. Just always making some minor moves to improve our position as the game goes on. But look at that. The counter ran down. Victory. Once again, Stalker 13R is a filthy base capper. And, you know, when that's an option to win in the mode, you might as well use it. So we're not getting any experience or silver anyway, so who cares whether you cap or kill all. So shout out to my opponent there, Silver Rocker 84, another great player, and also sent back the GG on the message, and we appreciate you watching today. So if you want to get in and check it out, there it is. And while you're at the homepage of my channel, go down to my subscriptions and check out the Bonsai Kamikaze Show or Del Reaper's channel and see some other good videos of tankers. I've got about 40 videos up on some different tank strategies and focusing on that team play, so I hope you'll come in and give us a loop. You'll be able to see some awesome driving like this guy does right here. Look at that. Does the combat roll, comes up, and look at this, bounces the shot with the perfect angle. That's an amazing tanker. So for that, and many clips more like it, check out the rest of my videos on my channel, and thanks for checking it out. I'm Stalker13R. Thanks for watching.